Thank you, Siri Robot. Otherwise, how would I know the recording is in progress? Cam, would I would just be having our off-air banter as we normally would.
Yeah, I thought that was that little chip that the government secretly installed in me again.
Oh yeah, right. No, I know. I can tell where your chip is malfunctioning because your one side twitches.
You're sick, man. Seek help.
No, it's the animatronic robot that's malfunctioning.
I
Anyway,
don't care which Earthbound villain's malfunctioning here.
that's what's up, y'all. Anyways, welcome to this very special edition of Wheeling and Dealing. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to call this, but once again, we're joined by Cam the Man Wells. He is my former radio partner at CJM 99.1 FM, formerly 91.5 FM, when we got to each other. Yeah. For back in the day for historical context. Not that if anybody's curious. But so Cam and I talked off air the last time. We had a really fun time, but we wanted to do a little bit more of a structured podcast where we talked a little bit more in depth about every aspect of disabilities that maybe the mainstream media doesn't cover, that maybe all the inspirational talks don't cover, littered with personal experiences, littered with like little quotes and articles. I mean, this one's going to be a bit more free form because we're talking about dating, so there's not too much scientific stuff. We could spew out facts, but you have to really go in depth with that. We're going to be talking, yeah, like when we do the employment stuff and like the history of institutions. I think that's when we'll have to be a little more stringent with our research. But sorry, go ahead.
I just like to say first that really can't talk about my dating life. Those records are sealed. Court order. I'm just messing with you. My dating life's a disaster, but it's not that bad.
Serious. I thought you were 1,000% serious. I can't tell sarcasm. That's my disability. I'm like Sheldon from Big Bang, except funnier.
Yes, of course you are.
Sure.
Moving on.
We'll do a little Rascals handshake. I know it's okay. But yeah, man. So like, just to give the people some context, like I said in the previous podcast, we've known each other for a good, at least over a decade now. 2009. Holy shit. So we've both, because we've been friends for as long as we have been, we've both gotten glimpses into each other's dating life and the ups and downs and the trials and tribulations that both of us have had to endure. And I think, I read this article about disabilities. I guess I can do the share screen thing, but it's by Sadie Wing. It's off the mighty.com. It says, please stop spreading inspiration porn about disability. So we're going to touch a little bit about that. And then there's another one about from the mighty by Joel Cooper, where he's just saying little things about what to expect when you go on a date with somebody who is maybe able-bodied, and maybe this is the first disabled person that you've ever dated, and just other little preconceived notions that people may have. The first one I've always had is people don't even know if I can have sex or whatever, if I am able to reproduce, and totally fine there. It was more just a matter of like, it's like once you get to talking to me, you see I'm clearly a shithead, but like we can still speak in a very forthcoming and very honest tone. I just get the shit out of the way. Like I used to kind of tiptoe around it and maybe kind of how do I put this? I used to kind of let it hinder me emotionally, and it would kind of like fuck with my confidence big time because I wasn't sure when to bring it up, if the girl would be apprehensive just to like just because of what her friends would think, family, all this other stuff. And like, it turns out nobody really gives a shit when it really comes down to it. If the person likes you and if you have enough to offer, it kind of, all that stuff kind of falls by the wayside. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, one thing I've always seen, and something I feel pretty strongly about, is people are psychologically conditioned when it comes to relationships. I mean, I've been in relationships where someone who, because of their disability, is always looking at the limitation side of things, always saying, oh, my relationship can only be this or that. And I don't like it when society adopts those attitudes. I mean, let the person explore their own needs and wants in a relationship and just kind of go with it. I mean, no one can say 100% whether it's going to be this or that, but a person should be allowed to take those steps and just sort of explore the field, see what happens.
Yeah, and just to give people context, it's like, yeah, some people may have different challenges that may hinder certain aspects of dating life, but you still, for the most part, I'd say 99 point, most of us want the exact same thing. I mean, I'll read off a quote that I heard from Stella Young today. She did a really good TED Talk. She's a comedian and journalist from Australia. And her quote was that disabled people are more disabled by the society that we live in rather by our body's limitations and our diagnosis. I think it rings true so much.
There's always this textbook definition everyone reads in a medical book and says this is what my disability must be, whereas that's just a baseline or a starting place. I have yet to see any documentation that can factor in a person's strength or desire to overcome. You'll never walk again. Oh, look at that. You're walking again. You'll never have kids. Doesn't matter that you got 5. You'll never have kids. Things like that. But,
did you fit all them in a shoe?
It's just doctors have this tendency to sort of look at things from that lens of this is blanket, what this is going to mean for you. Not this is what you're going to do with it. These are the steps you're going to take in owning your own diagnosis, your recovery, that sort of thing.
Do you think that's the old way of looking things, or of looking things, or do you find like, because now America has the ADA, I forget.
Americans with Disabilities Act.
Americans with Disabilities Act, and we had our act too. And like I said, you were an instrumental figure in the accessibility handbook. Do you think because there's more exposure and more other things, like when I was in Grand Bend this past week, and there was just a lady that straight up went up, she's like, "So what's the deal with the chair?" She's older and stuff, older blonde lady. And I think in the past, I would have been a little more uncomfortable with it, or like a family member, like I know my sisters would have been uncomfortable. There's a couple times they were ready to fight somebody, and it's like I basically kind of just push them off and like, let me handle this, because for one, I hate when other people speak for me. I think it's very condescending, even whether or not they have good intentions or not. It's exceptionally condescending when you feel like you have to protect somebody, especially if they can fend for themselves and speak for themselves. So I just I kind of like winked at her and kind of like said something sarcastic back. And I basically said, no, I was born like this, and da da da. Because like my friends are pushing me. It's funny. I have great friends, dude, but like I think some of them forget that I'm in the chair, literally, because when they're taking care of me, he was pushing me down the street, and there was a couple times where I narrowly averted some bumps, and like my chair was like sliding off right to the fucking side of the curb because he went to go talk to a couple of his friends, so he just leaves me there, and I fucking put my legs down to just try and stop. Like I'm trying to reach for the brakes and narrowly avert the curb stop. But I think that just goes to show you that I think we're normalizing it in like a good way. It may sound bad, but in the context of our friendship, it's a normal thing.
Well, what's interesting is that this lady actually even asked the question. There was a time not so long ago, historically, that people simply didn't, and they were a little more hesitant about reaching beyond the obvious and getting to know someone with a disability. Can be a marker of progress that people are actually saying, I want to know what your story is. I want to know you as an individual. Someone said to me once, the wheelchair is how I get around, but it's not who I am. That was a quote from one of my favorite interviews.
What was that interview?
Was actually a person who had cerebral palsy, and she, or should I say they, were a transgendered person denied the opportunity to have the transition surgery or to finish their education because, in large part, because of what people assumed. And, well, it's kind of a tragic story, but they were so affected by the fact that people were just putting it on them that, oh, because of your disability, you'll never succeed. And I thought it was only right that this person should have the chance to share their story. And all these years later, it stuck with me.
Yeah. they also have every base covered too, because if they're trans and if like they're of a different ethnicity or whatever, it's literally every single trump card you can have. I'm working on a bit about that. Where it's like I'm not gay or trans, but like I'm 2 cards away from having the royal flush of minorities or something like that.
It's just society can't put those kind of labels on people and say
Um,
because you have a disability which might have affected some parts of your learning doesn't mean that you're incapable of making those decisions and living a productive life or being considered an intelligent person. And for this person, their story really bothered me that anyone, especially those who were living closely alongside this person, would assume that that was the situation. Take it for the individual. It's always been my theory.
yeah, it's a bummer, I do think I honestly do think we're getting better at that. And like another interesting thing that the article pointed out, which I think everybody kind of knows, but we've been tiptoeing around it before because it's such an overcorrection period that we're in, where it's like disability doesn't equal morality. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean you're an angel, doesn't mean you're inspiring. It doesn't mean you have anything quote unquote special about you, because they brought up the example of Oscar Pistorius, the South African runner who like killed his girlfriend, you know? So he's
He also cheat.
I,
He
I
also
don't I
cheat.
don't I don't know. Well, he technically did, with the legs, he kind of did cheat, but I mean, he was going. I think he went up against other Paralympic people. So I don't think it was just running against able body.
Well, the thing about that is brings up one of the most interesting points I've encountered in the thousands of interviews I've done. Only a few of them have I ever refused to air on the grounds of this wouldn't be ethical for the disability community. There's someone who his theory is no matter what goes wrong in the world, it's his disability's fault. No other factors come into play for this person. And I was asked to interview him. I said, no, I'm just not going to do this because I will not put on the air anyone or anything that will denigrate people with disabilities or give them the idea that it's all right to use that as an excuse not to live, not to try. We're not a people who should be blaming others. We should be working with the talents we have, I think.
Well, yeah, and like if you want to, if he's willing to blame that, what else is he willing to blame? It sounds like he just kind of wanted to have a pity party, and it's everybody else's fault but his.
Yeah. I mean, truth is, disability is just like a tool, like anything else. It's a set of circumstances. You either learn to work with it, or you recoil from the world with it.
Honestly,
Either way, it's up to you. I mean, maybe on some level, this person didn't get the ideal job because of his disability. But that's not to say that there isn't anybody more qualified who would apply that day. You
yeah.
can't say it's the only factor, the only thing that would make this so. Till that's proven in court, I really don't think you should be making claims like that.
Especially not small claims. Am I right?
When was the last time you made a small claim?
Uh,
Hardly work.
when I was talking
Bring
about
up,
when I talked about my penis, I made a small claim.
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to go on the record as saying, you.
That was Dave Squeaky Wheels who said that, not Cam Wells. Dave Squeaky Wheels. Let the record show, Yana. Yana.
I ever tell you my favorite quote of all time?
Don't put it in.
No. I'll go to jail. I'll strap myself in the electric chair. Just don't make me listen to this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that was my second guess.
Of course it was.
I've missed you, buddy. Oh man. Yeah. But just going back to like, because I want to keep with the theme here. I think one of the things I talk. I don't know if we talked about this in the last podcast. I should probably listen to these more. But I hate when in society now people are big on having a protected class or treating certain classes of people almost like pets or almost like less than. It's very dehumanizing to me, and it's very it's like we're just put there to kind of do the inspiration point thing, but also just they're to flaunt virtue and to say, I'm a good person. Look, I have this person who's less than, but I'm treating them like this and that. And it's like, to me, if you have to do that shit, it says a lot about your character in the first place. Like you'll
It's
see.
overcom-
Sorry, go ahead.
it's overcompensating, I think, in so much as if you want to keep a person from getting hurt in every way, this person will never end up living. If you sugarcoat their every action, they get a sense of entitlement. They're going to grow up and they're going to say that no matter what I do, it doesn't matter. Whether I succeed or fail, I'll end up getting what I want anyway. It's an unreasonable standard to set, and it's a slippery slope we're creating for ourselves, really.
Yeah. Do you think that goes anywhere good if people keep, I guess, reinforcing or perpetuating the sense of entitlement or a sense of like, well, I should do this because I'm this and I'm that, as opposed to the content of the character and as opposed to what they provide into the world. I think we're all here, not to get philosophical, even though it's kind of what this podcast is about. We're all
Well,
here. We're all here to kind of help each other and learn from each other's mistakes. And some people are living lessons. Do you think that this goes anywhere good if we keep this shit up?
here's a thought for you. Do you really think we would have gone through three shutdowns in this past year if people hadn't put themselves above the rules? Or to say, I don't need to wear my mask. I don't need to be worried about what other people are doing.
I'm wearing one on my balls
I,
right now, so I think I've had the wrong part.
but
I'm wearing a mask on my balls right now. I think I may have been doing it wrong the whole time.
what are you telling me for? But really, if people had just taken a little decency and a little consideration, this past year would have gone a lot more smoothly, I think.
Maybe,
So much
dude.
as,
Maybe. I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I don't know. I just think it's so complicated just to kind of, we like things simple and we like to kind of say, well, if we would have done this and that and you had hindsight, it's so easy to do that after the fact, but it's like when you're caught up in the moment, people get scared and emotions get the best of you, and it's a lot of factors. I don't want to go too much into that shit because I'm just so over it, and like I want people to just live their lives. But like getting Yeah, but like getting back to the, actually, speaking of which, so I mentioned before, like I let my preconceived notions even about myself hinder my ability to want to date and stuff. I didn't really date at all in high school. Looking back, there was opportunities to do it, but I don't think I was emotionally mature enough. Was going through some other shit, personal and like family wise. So like, did that ever happen to you? Would you?
well, I've got an example of this from when I was in high school that continues to haunt me to this day. There was sort of a bully in my youth, I guess you could call her. She used to fake hitting on me, knowing even then that I was in a relationship with someone, not someone of her social standing, mind you. I went and I reported it because this person was really harassing me, and it got to the point where the teacher actually said, "Don't shoot above your weight class. This is not someone who would hit on you." And how would they know? What exactly is it that makes me not worth hitting on?
Wait. So the teacher said you're not
That
worth
if
being hit on?
that this girl, this classmate of mine who was bothering me because of my relationship, wouldn't actually hit on me because I was basically got the sense that the teacher was telling me I wasn't good enough for this girl, so I should just let her harass me. And I've lived with that all this time.
Sure,
I
I
mean,
don't know, man. Attraction is physical, but it's not all. I think the fact that you didn't like her made her want you more. You know what I'm
uh,
saying? So you
she
won't.
wasn't she wasn't serious. She was just doing it to annoy me, and I
Oh,
knew it. But honestly, the fact that she was annoying me with it at the time, that was not okay. I mean, the fact is, a person with a disability should neither lower themselves in terms of relationship quality. They should never compromise their expectations. It's fine to say this person's interested in me, but is this the right sort of someone? I've
yeah,
had opportunities over the years to get into relationships that I knew would be wrong, things that I just couldn't let happen. I mean, yeah, I've had some relationships that I've wanted to get into that haven't worked out. I've had some that I really shouldn't have gotten into because, well, honestly, I just held on too long when it wasn't working. But it's not something that we should do to ourselves. Don't lower your expectation based on somebody telling you that you're not good enough for such and such.
Well, no, and like you don't just have to do that to communicate that you don't think you're valuable enough. There's little things that you do. If you put up with certain behaviors, then you're communicating that this is okay and that I'm basically not good enough. And you have to be the one who has to kind of set your ground rules and your boundaries at the end of the day. That's what nobody really teaches. I don't know. I feel like this generation of dudes were kind of having existential crisis when it comes to our purpose and like feeling like we can provide and like we're more than or that we're up to society's standards, you know. And like when you got a disability, it's you amplify that because it's just some other shit you have to deal with. Like I don't know, man. Like I think personality and like having a winning everything is great. And if you have something going on, you have some social status or whatever. Like I didn't even realize until I was later. Like I just thought I was a fucking loner weirdo. But I would go out like by myself. I still kind of do sometimes, even though I'm not drinking the next 2 weeks because that's a whole nother story. Holy shit. Um, like I would go out by myself because for one I feel like I have enough friends I could maybe ask people to join me and like if I need help with the steps, but you don't meet people that way and you can be confined in your little factions and your little groups and you don't expand your horizons, you don't learn about yourself and you don't get a mix of friends and it can be daunting and scaring to people. But the reason why I think the confidence in myself has changed is because I I didn't even realize I was like taking that step. I was just doing all those things. It's like I don't need somebody else to validate me. I gotta validate myself by fucking going up and talking to people and being a good dude.
Well, that's the thing. Anyone who's going to accept you is going to accept you. Anyone who wants to break out of the homogenized circles of the world is going to reach out to you either way. It's not up to you to change who you are just to fit in with people you may or may not have something in
Yeah,
common with. Or this may or may not be a relationship you want to pursue, so don't compromise your principles or your identity just so you can say, the cool kids toss me a turkey bone and let me into their circle.
I often learn the cool kids are the fucking lame ones. 'Cause they may have all the cool shit and like their daddy buys them cars and they have these blow up parties, but they fucking suck to talk to. They have no substance. I find they tend to be the fucking dullest people because they have like not it's not saying you have to have struggle to have character or anything, but it's like they live in their own little separate world. So when you take them out of it, they're like a fish out of water in so many different ways. Um, I don't know.
Truth is, people, they're so obsessed these days with image and being an influencer, whatever that actually means. I
It means you
figure
show
in
your
10 years,
boobs, your side boobs occasionally. That's all it
people
means.
will be extinct. But if it's so much image, it's no substance. I mean, looking good in the public eye, that's one thing. But once the cameras are off, are you still treating that employee with equality? Are you still getting involved with getting to know this person? Is your friendship a real one, or is it based on just making yourself look good in the public eye? It's a
What,
question a lot of people struggle with, I think.
what I've said about influencers is that a lot of times they're flaunting something to sell something. That's how you can tell by what their motivation is. It's what ads appear on their video or like if they're trying to sell something. Um, there's
I'd be
always
horribly frightened if they could spell motivation, most of them. Read an
most,
article online these days. It's not encouraging.
yeah, dude. Spell correct doesn't appear in real life. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the next thing. But it's actually interesting thing I wanted to bring up because I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, which I'm trying to do less of. It's just so distracting and it's just fucking terrible for your psyche sometimes. But I'm on a group, that has people that have my disability because when I grew up, I think I told you like I knew like nobody with my disability. There's a few people with cerebral palsy and like some other intellectual disabilities, but I was the only one that have my disability. So I'm scrolling on there, and one of the questions was, when you're on a dating site, do you in your profile, do you put that you have a disability, or do you put a picture of yourself having a disability? And like the answers varied. You can tell there's some people that weren't as comfortable. Like the one person's, for the most part, it was pretty positive. They were like, "Don't worry about it." And they said, if you can see a picture of my head, then you're gonna see the backrest, or like my backrest in the background. So they're gonna have to figure that out. Or just, the girls are saying it's tough for them because dudes are being inappropriate with them and asking them all this creepy shit. And some of the dudes are saying like, yeah, I've had this happen with women where they kind of, you know, ask weird shit that I'm not ready for and stuff like that. And,
To be fair, that's everybody on dating sites.
yeah, yeah,
But,
man. It's such a terrible way to meet people. I'd rather just meet in real life.
one thing that is kind of on point. You ever see the show Home Movies? Sort of a precursor to Bob's Burgers. There's this episode in which character is making a dating video and he's talking about his car and he says, "I don't currently have legal access to it, and my ideal woman is the one who's still watching this tape."
Or if she has to blow into a tube to start it, right?
No, it's more mob cars.
Yeah. It's going to be the next line of Teslas, when Elon comes back from space.
They can keep them.
I know all those well, I like Elon, but the rest of them can stay out. Bezos and fucking Branson.
Got good ideas. It's just when it comes to people's attitudes, sometimes you get that much money, that much influence, it can be hard to deal with. I mean,
oh, you think? Yeah, man, they don't live in the real world. That's the whole thing. But yeah,
Ferry's got a lot of pressures on them.
Yeah,
especially true. In space.
It's true. Going back to the inspiration porn thing and about the virtue. This is a snippet from the article. It says dating somebody with a disability often seems to be overlooked or used as inspiration porn. Someone who uses their love life to gain a social media presence or some type of gratification for taking someone out with a disability on a date to a prom or this, that, and the other. What do you think of all that? Because there's, the whole quote, where they'll show people where it's like the only disability is a bad attitude, or the kid swimming, or the girls playing soccer. Like, do you think that applies to dating too?
I do, in so much as if you're sincere and want to get in a relationship with someone with a disability, that's one thing. But if you're just doing it to self-aggrandize and to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm a great, compassionate person because I took someone with a disability out," that's just cruel. It's not fair to you and it's not fair to them because they may end up placing expectations on things that just aren't realistic. And what's worse, sometimes you can end up dating someone who is in denial about their condition. And I've had this happen. I mean, if you just don't accept that, say, give you an example. If you're someone who's been struggling with mental health or addictions or things along those lines, you have to accept that getting into a relationship, it's rocky territory. And it's not something that's going to be cured in 5 minutes. And this person, being with this person, isn't going to solve everything. It's not an end all be all. Just growing with the person, getting treatment, that can be great help to people. However, just expecting a relationship to fix everything, it's really murky territory.
Do you
Sometimes.
Sorry to cut you off. Do you think that's exacerbated for us though, because there's been such a stigma? Because if you're already emotionally unstable, or if you need somebody else to validate your existence, do you think that that's kind of exacerbated for us?
Well, in some cases, but the most dangerous and possibly the most difficult thing is where two people with similar concerns come together. Then you get this pattern of enabling. Oh, no matter what they do, it's all right because they have me to fall back on. Doesn't matter that they went out and they got drunk all night because we're good. We're a couple. We're in love. And if we were sober and clean, would we still be a couple or even have met? How did we meet? What's the quality of the relationship? Where's this relationship going? These are questions that have to be asked, not just for people with disabilities, but in all circumstances.
It's kind of like we have to grow up a little bit quicker than most people. Like, I'm not saying, I don't speak for everybody, obviously. It's like we have to get our emotional intelligence intact a little bit more. Otherwise, it kind of really can like hinder us in the long run. It's like most
We have to
people.
deal with we
Sorry.
have to deal with realities, really. I mean, when I was younger and I was just recovering from the stroke, I don't think I had to deal with the same sort of problems other kids did. Their biggest concern was, will my allowance be on time? My biggest concern was, will I get feeling back in my leg? I think
Mic
that
drop.
it really does create sort of a need to grow up fast. Doesn't mean you stop having a sense of wonder or a sense of fun in life. It's important. It keeps you alive in your difficult moments, but doesn't mean that we're ahead of anyone else or behind anyone else. Just means we learn different things at different times.
Yeah, and sometimes sooner than most people. That's why I bring up that aspect of it. Read a little more of this article. It says we do not want you to feel different dating us. Yeah. Something that ties into the first point. We do not want you to feel different dating us. We want our relationships as healthy as possible. This includes holding both parties accountable for our actions, allowing us to live normal lives, work, cooking, taking the dogs for a walk. We want to give and learn as much as anyone else in a normal relationship would. Wouldn't you say that ties into the first thing?
Yeah. However, what you were saying about the need to grow up, sometimes in relationships, one or both parties involved never really do. Because there can be a sense of this over reliance on the other person. There can be this dependence that can put a strain on relationships if a person recognizes that someone will do everything for them, create over reliance. However, if they want to do too much and take away from the other person, it's really a balancing act, I think, if that makes any sense.
Ironically, yes, because I'm not great at balance. Neither one of us are. It's too heavy. I gotta throw my dumb quips in every now and then.
All right, remind me next time I do one of these to bring a rim shot.
Oh, yeah. Don't threaten me with a good time. Don't threaten me with a good time. Rim shot or rim job.
Like I said before, you're sick, seek help.
I said that, not him over there. It's me. It's me.
But,
Uh,
uh, honestly, when it comes to awareness in a relationship, I mean, nobody's perfect in that. Nobody's got it down to a science. Relationships are principally defined by the fact that your good judgment decides to take an unscheduled vacation. However, sometimes if the disability is less obvious, if someone doesn't know, they'll get involved with someone, and at first, what might seem like a normal, stable person, you might find out things down the line, and you might regrettably end up asking, would I have gotten involved with this person in the first place?
yeah.
And they might find they might not have gotten involved with you if your attitude would have been any different because of their disability. You got to remember, it's a lot of it is just what you don't see. A lot of it's below the surface. You can't see a mental health condition, for example. But
Depends on what time of
you
night it
should
is.
not. I mean, if you love someone, if you accept someone, you should go with that for as long as you're able. However, the point at which it becomes a detriment to your health or theirs is the point at which you should really start asking some questions. Can this be fixed, or will it just continue to drain on me?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to create a disability with an unhealthy relationship. Mental health strain and exhaustion, paranoia, things like that will ultimately wear you out. If it's an unhealthy relationship that weighs you down, sometimes it's not worth it.
And this goes back to the value thing too, because I think what we're not taught is so much of the courting process, especially it's psychology and it's perception is reality in so many ways. It's why people want to flaunt their virtue and flaunt, their status on the gram and whatnot. But I think the psychology aspect is fascinating to me because when this is for me personally, I think you've had a similar experience. But when you change your mindset, when you say no, I'm the buyer, I have to decide if she's good enough for me because I know I'm good enough. I know I have a lot to offer, and I know that if I value myself, I know and like if I value myself so much, and if I want the best for myself, uh, who do I want to compliment that? You know what I'm saying? So like where you're the buyer and they're the ones trying to sell themselves to you, for lack of a better term. Like, do you think that a mindset shift is what a lot of people with disabilities like? It's not that they need to, but I think that when that's done, I think the world is your oyster in so many ways.
Experience does shape attitude. I mean, for a person who's been hurt a lot or rejected a lot, they're not going to likely try to enter into another relationship easily. Might take them everything they've got to go up and talk to that girl and join into a crowd and see if he can get 5 minutes of her precious attention. But really, if you go in with a confident attitude, it can be a little easier. However, you've got to ask yourself, is the person I'm going in and presenting myself as who I really am?
Well, I
I mean,
want to end. I want to add to that too, because I say confidence, but I also think a mindset of abundance is important too. If you put all your eggs in one basket with this one person, no matter how perceivingly perfect you think they are, there could be somebody else who's better. Or, you have to be, if you're talking to everybody, like I said before, when I go up by myself and speak to everybody at the bar, like get to know everybody, when the drinks are flowing, alcohol's a social lubricant, social stimulator, so it makes it easier. But when I started doing that, I figured out, oh, I don't have to. What I thought about myself was complete horseshit. Like it's you don't have to get caught up on like one or two people in your life. There's so many people that can add to your life. And you're one of them too. I might add.
thank you. Well,
I'd
I
throw that
think
in.
I think going into these relationship situations, the key is to go in as yourself. I mean, if you're trying to get
Unless
to know
yourself is
someone,
weird, unless you have, like you said, the other quirks and stuff, then you got to work on yourself.
reinventing yourself is fine if you're a witness to a crime and you have to go underground for a while. That's one thing. However, if you're just trying to get a date, trying to get to know someone that you may or may not want to spend some time with, go in, present yourself, and sometimes you might find, if you're very lucky, that this person, he or she, will be curious about your disability. I mean, I've said it all the time. I've gotten to know people just by saying, I do a radio show on disability issues. And
Yeah.
people ask questions like, what's that like? Who's the most interesting person you've ever interviewed? And that can be a real conversation starter. I mean, letting someone know what's special and what's unique about you, it's not wrong. Hopefully, they'll open up and they'll share something special about themselves.
And from like the guy's perspective, I can't speak about. Maybe we should get a woman with a disability, and maybe she should talk about that aspect. Because like from the guy's perspective, when when you get like when you have a disability and I find like when women do stuff for me, like they tend to like me a little bit more because like I like bringing them into my world a little bit, and they can kind of see what I can and can't do, and that ingratiates myself. I don't know if it's the same thing for women, but like that protector kind of instinct kicks in, or that kind of not paternal, but like I want to care for this person, or
Well,
then kicks in.
in the best relationships, it starts off bringing each other into your world. By the time you're done, there aren't two worlds. It's just the one that you share. Really, fact is, in relationships, the idea is to find the best of yourself and help someone else find the best of themselves. If you're doing that, you know you're doing something right. And there's at least a potential. But
That
I
was the
think
bar right there.
these days in society, we have this disposable attitude. One relationship isn't working for me. I'll go out. I'll find someone else. You hear all the time about this power couple or that CEO getting divorced. Why did you invest so much of your life into someone if you're just going to throw it away in 5 years?
Yeah, a lot of it's status, and I think a lot of it's money too, and perceived public image. It's with those particular ones, at least from the very peripheral view that I've had with them. Um, yeah, I don't know. With the rest of that, I'm not too sure. Again, man, I think there's a lot of people that don't know themselves a lot and they want to project their own image and make themselves appear a certain way. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, that's kind of why I like being disabled and why I kind of put all my cards on the table, because now you can tell if somebody's full of shit or not, and whether they're, like you said, whether they're worth investing the time in. If you're not going to grow together, then what's the point? There's a ceiling and like you'll ride it out, you'll have fun, but what's the point at that point? Um,
If you're not living your life, you're not living. If you're not being you in a relationship, you're not in a relationship. Not really.
I gotta say, you're dropping some bars this episode. I gotta watch some of this back, dude. And like, they have to like put some of these on a placemat or like some fucking some hot girl's Instagram somewhere. Break up.
Any comfort, I have been written in several fortune cookies.
Yeah. In that way. What one of them said, "Watch out for the sidewalk. The fucking lip doesn't stop there."
Oh, you want a real piece of wisdom? He who eats crackers in bed wakes up feeling crummy. And the greatest piece of wisdom you'll ever hope to hear, folks.
I agree. Your words have never been said, my friend. So we won't keep doing this for too much longer because I do want to eat and I want to I want to keep the flow going and stuff. We'll think we'll end the episode with the Stella Young video, but I want to take you back to when we first started hanging out and stuff. When I was going through it was then my first girlfriend. No names, obviously, like that. I'm not gonna blow up nobody's spot here, but yeah, like
I'm not here to offend anybody, just for the record.
yeah. We're fucking around, guys. Hear that, YouTube nerds? We're fucking around. You know what friends are, algorithm? Get that? Joking.
The stories I shared were just to let you know what it was like growing up. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah. Before we move on to mine, though, is there anything that we missed? Anything that you wanted to share that I might have missed out?
Just recently, I've been trying to help a friend who's going through some relationship issues. She has a disability herself and wants to do an upcoming episode of my show talking about what it's like when you're in a relationship and the other person pulls away, and how you cope with that as someone with a disability.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm actually talking to a girl with from the group I was telling you about, where like she was kind of feeling like, he flaked on me. I'm always gonna be alone. I don't want to date a bunch of guys. It sucks and da da da. I basically told her what I told you. Like, the world is your oyster. You can't put your value in somebody else's hands. You have to figure out what it is that you like to do that, and find somebody who compliments you in the right possible way. You know.
The hardest lesson I had to learn after my last breakup, which was pretty devastating to be honest, was I was a person before I ever knew her, and I'm still a person today. There are aspects of my life that are unique to me, and no matter what she said or did, those things could not be taken from me.
I agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree. Excuse me. Yeah, I think we got to do a part two of this with the female guest who's got a disability, just to get their perspective. I don't want it to just be a sausage party with us two guys, but yeah, this is where I wanted to bring you back. So when I had my first official girlfriend or whatever, is when I first knew you, and I was pretty young in the game. I was like 19, 18, something like that. It was like late teens, early 20s, and it hit me pretty hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't get into too many details of how it ended, but like it was a little sudden. We were doing the long distance thing for a bit. She was very emotionally insecure. Every time I go out and do a show, she like accused me of stuff, and like I was always on the defensive because I didn't know that you had to stand up for yourself or not take somebody's shit, especially when you're not doing something wrong. And I didn't know a lot of things that I know now, looking back on it. But yeah, like you basically coached me through that time and fucking tried to beef me up. It took me a long time to recover from that one and the next one I got into. But that was like the first one. They said the first one always hits the hardest. So like, what do you remember the most about that time without naming any specifics? And like, what were some takeaways you think that I learned from, or that you even learned from?
Well, what I remember most would have to be Christmas Eve. I remember you were pretty depressed, so I brought you to the Harveys near the university, and we just talked for a couple hours. I know you were pretty messed up because sometimes for a person with a disability, you got to wonder, will I ever find someone again? And I think we've all been there. My last relationship, it ended in a very difficult way for me. I struggled with those questions, and since then, I've had opportunities to get into other relationships, but really recognizing that my worth as a person doesn't allow me to just bring myself down to something that isn't me. That's something you got to remember as well. Keep yourself as yourself. To this, above all, to thine own self be true. I remember after we were done talking, you seemed to be in a better place, and well, I knew you'd find love again.
Yeah.
Even if we as people give up on love, love doesn't tend to give up on people very
It
easily.
wasn't even about love. It was just like, because like I said, I never really dated in high school. Like I had little crushes here and there, little things, but like I never had the gumption or the fucking temerity to even want to do it in the first place. I was just very kind of set in my ways and very stuck in that old negative mindset of always berating myself and like saying horrible things when it doesn't go, when I didn't get the outcome I wanted, or it was like a domino effect. This domino hits that domino, and then it all just kind of came crashing down like a proverbial house of cards. But like
If you
after
berate,
that,
if you berate yourself, you start to believe it, then others start to believe it. And if
that
people see that sort of lack of confidence, chances are they're going to take a wider berth and steer clear. And you have to believe for yourself that you are worth something. And if you're gonna just have the woe is me thing, we all do. Just
yeah,
don't live there. It's fine to take a vacation there. Just don't stay. It's not a good place.
I mean, maybe check in for a night, maybe make it a holiday and stay. You know, if there's a shitty vending machine down the hallway.
I think actually a comedian once said, "You're gonna have a sad fest tonight, but by tomorrow you're gonna be fine."
Yeah, yeah. That's why you call me in the first place. We're sad. We're sad on some level where something fucked up happened or whatever. I don't know. It's never a one size fits all thing. But no, I remember what you said that day, and it meant a lot. So that's how I knew we were gonna be buddies. I'm glad we're still buddies to this day, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull up the Stella Young clip here. See if we can share my screen. I hope I have
If
it.
not, I'll throw on a wig and try and impersonate it.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I was gonna say. I want you to look like the lady from Leprechaun in the Hood.
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
Old ships. So yeah, here we go.
You might have seen a child running on carbon fiber prosthetic legs. And these images, there are lots of them out there. They
Oh,
are
wait, I'll
found
go back a little bit. This is where she goes to the images.
via social media. You may have seen images like this one. The only disability in life is a bad attitude. Or this one, your excuse is invalid. Indeed.
Yeah.
Or this one, before you quit, try. Yeah. These are just a couple of examples, but there are a lot of these images out there. You might have seen the little girl with no hands drawing a picture with a pencil held in her mouth. You might have seen a child running on carbon fiber prosthetic legs. And these images, there are lots of them out there. They are what we call inspiration porn. And I use the term porn deliberately because they objectify one group of people for the benefit of another group of people. So in this case, we're objectifying disabled people for the benefit of non-disabled people. The purpose of these images is to inspire you, to motivate you, so that we can look at them and think, well, however bad my life is, it could be worse. I could be that person. But what if you are that person? I've lost count of the number of times that I've been approached by strangers wanting to tell me that they think I'm brave or inspirational. And this was long before my work had any kind of public profile. They were just kind of congratulating me for managing to get up in the morning and remember my own name. And it is objectifying. These images objectify disabled people for the benefit of non-disabled people. You know, they are there so that you can look at them and think that things aren't so bad for you, to put your worries into perspective. And life as a disabled person is actually somewhat difficult. We do overcome some things, but the things that we're overcoming are not the things that you think they are.
By the way, that's a badass wheelchair. Holy shit. I cannot get my hands on anything like that. Like, she's doing quite well, Stella. Shit.
Love her point. I always say when a person with a disability gets up in the morning and makes breakfast, it's not inspirational. It's need to eat and it's toast.
Exactly. Unless you smell burnt toast, then it's a heart attack. Anyways.
That's a stroke, believe me.
Okay, never mind. Oh yeah.
See some fun colors at least.
Did you saw a kaleidoscope?
It's not the kind of thing I can describe easily.
Sorry, buddy, I forgot. My bad.
It's okay.
I feel so bad. All right, we're just gonna play another minute more of this.
They are not things to do with our bodies. I use the term disabled people quite deliberately because I subscribe to what's called the social model of disability, which tells us that we are more disabled by our bodies, the society that we live in rather, than by our bodies and our diagnoses. So I've lived in this body a long time. I'm quite fond of it. It does the things that I need it to do, and I've learnt to use it to the best of its capacity, just as you have. And that's the thing about those kids in those pictures as well. They're not doing anything out of the ordinary. They are just using their bodies to the best of their capacity. So is it really fair to objectify them in the way that we do, to share those images? People, when they say, you know, you're an inspiration, they mean it as a compliment. They mean it as a compliment. And I know why it happens. It's because of the lie. It's because we've been sold this lie that disability makes you exceptional. And it honestly doesn't. And I know what you're thinking. You know, I'm up here bagging out inspiration. You're thinking, geez, Stella, aren't you inspired sometimes by some things? And the thing is, I am. I learn from other disabled people all the time. I'm learning not that I'm luckier than them, though. I am learning that it's a genius idea to use a pair of barbecue tongs to pick up things that you drop. I'm learning.
I was gonna say she should pick up her other eye with those barbecue tongs. Anyway, go watch the clip. That was great. I kid, obviously. What the fuck? Stop share. Come on. There. Where'd you go?
I think you broke it.
Oh, I didn't. No, never mind. We're back. But yeah, go watch the clip. It's called "I'm Not Your Inspiration. Thank you very much" by Stella Young. She's a G. I saw her in university, and I keep watching that talk, that little 9-minute clip, just when I want to not feel sorry for myself, because we all kind of have been there. And I think it's a detriment when you do that. You devalue yourself and all the things that we've been talking about for this past half hour. Cam Wells, you're king amongst men. Again, I appreciate you so much, buddy. Is there anything that you want to plug before we wrap up here?
Well, just one thing. I don't know how many of your viewers might know this, but I've designed a disabilities course for Canterbury Elder College and been presenting it progressively. Just yesterday, I submitted a proposal for the next chapter I'm going to be doing, which is all about disability portrayals on TV. It's taken from one of my larger chapters, and it's going to have everything from the classics of Get Smart and MASH to how Star Trek has been portraying this disability in the same way for 50 years. And I think that's really going to be a fun topic to go over.
Yeah. Like, are you going to save it for the show, like the radio show, or should we do we can do a little snippet of that here, even like if we do want to do that next time.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I mean, I've designed a massive course on all things disability. Basically, when I finished diploma number 4 at St. Clair, I decided not ready to be done with education. Since I can't afford it, I'll just do what I can, teach something.
And boy, for those that can't do teach, they say, but you could do a lot. So I think that quote doesn't apply.
Only thing I can do is complain, and you know it.
I've seen it firsthand. Yeah.
And I don't have the energy to argue with anyone who disagrees with me.
Can people follow you anywhere? Like how should they how can they listen to Handy Link?
Probably the best way is you can look me up on Facebook. I'm easy enough to find. Post my new episodes on there. Plus, National Campus and Community Radio Association database and iHeartRadio. CGM now has a listing there, so my show should be lopped in with all the fine content they're creating these days.
Your show is every Thursday?
What's that?
Your show is every Thursday, right?
Yeah, 1230, 99.1 FM. At least locally. It's carried across the country.
Yes. You heard it, guys. 99.1 FM. Listen to Handy Link. There's a few of my episodes, I think, buried in the archives somewhere. He has some fantastic guests on throughout the years. He's been doing it for a very, very long time. Please give this man a follow. Send him a great compliment. He deserves it. For all my stuff, just Instagram at Dave Squeaky Wheels, DaveSqueakyWheelz. And it's youtube.com/Dave Squeaky Wheels with an S. I haven't adjusted that. I might be doing some revamping to that. Also Twitter, D Squeaky Wheels. Again, Facebook, D Squeaks, DSQUEAKYZ. Also keep a lookout for another podcast I'm going to be doing with adult film star Maxine X. We're going to be launching that sometime in the next few weeks. Thinking about calling it X Marks the Thought, THOT. Keep an eye out for that. She's a lot of fun. We get really silly on there, and we answer relationship advice questions. Not quite like this. This is a very specialized topic, but keep an eye out for that. Love having you on, buddy. Just stay on the line for a second. I'm just going to stop the recording. Okay?
Sounds good.
For the rest of you guys, wrist it. Hope you have a wonderful day. Have a good one. Peace.